You're ready, sir?
Yep.
Okay. Just give me a second. So we just... You're ready, sir?
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead.
So hi guys, welcome to Simandar Education. So as you know, we have a success anecdotes venture where we cover all the inspirational stories. So we covered two, and on the third story, I don't need to give any introduction because it's Shailesh Haribhakti sir. It's an absolute privilege to have Shailesh Haribhakti sir. Though I said that I'll not give an introduction, but still I'll just people who don't know him much. So I think he is a renowned chartered accountant, cost accountant, the first certified internal auditor in India, financial planner, fraud examiner with over 4 decades of experience in developing and leading professional service enterprise. He's currently chairman of Shailesh Hari Bhakti and Associates, Chartered Accountants, strong supporter of ESG, which is a clean and green environment, shared value creation, and has pioneered the concept of innovating to zero in the social context. Mr. Haribhakti is the chairman of the board of Blue Star, L&T Finance Holdings, L&T Mutual Fund Trustees, Future Lifestyle Fashions Limited, NSDL, E-Governance Infrastructure, Mentorcap, Management Private Limited, Bluevine Technologies, IBS Fintech. He's the vice chairman of GoVeva Consulting Private Limited. He's an independent board member of Torrent Pharma, Bennett Solomon and Company, which is Times Group, Ambuja Cements, ACC, Bajaj Electricals, Epigeneres Biotech, and Gaja Capital Group. He's a strategic advisor to FTI, Citigroup, and serves on advisory boards of Doha Bank, Gaja Advisors, and Excellence Enable Private Limited. He has helped create GoVeva, which provides digital productivity enhancements, governance, and compliance support. So I can go on and on and on. He's a visiting faculty at IMA. Has some prominent board committees led by him, led Bombay Management Association, Institute of Internal Auditors, Mumbai, WIRC, Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Indian Merchant Chambers, Financial Planning and Standard Board, Rotary Club, served the Standard Advisory Council of IASB in London for 2 years and was chairman of NSP Trust from 2015 to 17. I think this is a massive introduction. I don't think so anyone has that kind of introduction of so many achievements on his belt. So it's an absolute delight and pleasure to have you here. And thank you so much for taking out time to share your story so that all the people who are watching us on YouTube, and even then later when we share the premiere or the recorded version of it, I hope a lot of them will get a good insight about this. First of all, thank you so much, Shailesh, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So my first question, sir, what is the importance of a qualification, and why did you select a chartered accountant at that particular age when you started your career?
So for me, the chartered accountancy qualification was chosen for me by birth. My father being one of the most prominent chartered accountants of the country. And as I was so inspired by him, there was nothing else that I ever considered except being a chartered accountant. So it was virtually from birth, it was almost preordained that I will be a chartered accountant. So there was not much to choose. But your other question is very important. How important is a qualification? Qualification is only a beginning. It is not the be-all and the end-all of anything. You have to embark on a lifelong learning journey the minute you are qualified. And that is what gives you the ability to actually make a contribution to the world. So qualification is just a beginning.
Now, being yourself as an all India ranker, and there are a lot of qualifications today, and most of them don't have much idea on which qualification they need to go on for. In your career, when you started, I know you have been the all India ranker in CA and all. Why did you select audit only? I mean, what made you? I know you are one of the legendary auditors what our country have witnessed, but why audit? There were taxation, there was mergers and acquisition. Today, when I talk to students, being a faculty myself, they have so much attraction towards tax, towards advisory, towards IFRS, US GAAP. but you selected audit. What made you select audit as your career?
So, auditing is the mother science for a chartered accountant. It is the only space where an exclusive domain has been carved out for chartered accountants all over the world. It is the only thing that we are exclusively licensed to do. And by historical accident, I started my career in auditing, and my experience at Arthur Young and Company, 7980 in Chicago, really brought home to me that auditing brings everything together. You have to be a good person at tax, at M&A, at understanding valuation, at understanding intellectual property, technology, if you want to be a good auditor. And that is why I decided to deeply focus on auditing almost all my life. But I did everything else you mentioned. There's not a single what you mentioned that I have not either led or created as a service. We were a full service firm, and we believe that is the way auditing should be. So while all the other things add value, auditing is like the mother science, and it is the only licensed space that is reserved for chartered accountants, not only in India, but all over the world. And that is why I'm very happy that I chose auditing. And now I can innovate around technology, around everything else, using auditing as the base.
So I think, as we know, that you're one of the first certified internal auditor of India, and I think you. So audit, though it's a mother science, and there was a very interesting thing which you have said, that you went to US in Chicago and tried to understand what the US firms do. And did you? I mean, what was the trigger point for Shailesh to start off with audit? I mean, there would be one kick that, okay, this is the thing. Yes, I need to go into audit then.
No, there was no such thing. It was my life has been a very natural life. I have never had to make tough choices that whether I should go for taxation or auditing. Auditing chose me, let's put it that way, as opposed to my choosing auditing. And I just simply made sure that I understood what I was supposed to do. I recognized my responsibility. I learned a lot. I kept a learning attitude. I learned all the peripheral subjects equally well and applied myself. So ultimately in life, it is not the particular subject that you choose that is important. It is what you leave behind as a contribution which is more important. And that's what I would like all young students to focus on. Don't think that just because you start in auditing, you'd remain in auditing all your life. That's also not necessary. You can take various branches. You can do actually whatever life beckons, you can do. Because our qualification is so broad, our education is so broad, and our ability to interact with society is so broad, then you can then pick and choose what interests you and then go deep into it. Or you may decide to stay in auditing. That's an equally good choice.
Along with CA, you have done CFP, CFE, and CIA. Now, why do we think, Shailesh sir, that an additional qualification apart from chartered accountancy, now that most of them, we also train for US CPA, which is the US chartered accountancy. And what do you think an importance of having an additional qualification for a chartered accountant? Does it really adds the value to the profession, or I think is CA sufficient for them to progress in the career?
No, it's always nice to challenge a few exams in your life. The Certified Internal Auditor exam had a pass percentage of 60% in each paper. You needed to get 60% in each one of the four papers in order to pass. So it was a good challenge to pick up. And it was interesting. And costing gave me a tremendous. It was the basis on which I went to IIM Ahmedabad and taught management accounting for 2 years. So costing was valuable and useful as an additional qualification to me because it enabled me to go into management accounting. And today, as I think about auditing, everything is converging. Data is a stream. Data has become so much of a flow that if you know how to pick from it, and if you know how to get the essence out of it, and you know how to make better decisions, take better calls, or give better opinions, then that's what you start using data for. And then you can use that data for anything. You can use it for audit opinion, you can use it for accounting, for decision making, decision support. It's all from the same source. How do you make that data useful? How do you make it valuable? That is the challenge for all accountants.
So that's a terrific thing. So now, one more interesting point is you became CEO at the age of 22. Now, what was so I mean, there are a lot of young people and they're watching now. So, what was that trigger point becoming CEO at the age of 22?
Again, very natural. It's just that in that particular year, my father became the president of the Indian Merchants Chamber. So he had to spend a whole lot of time outside the office. And I had qualified. And so I took on the role of making sure that the firm was well managed, it kept growing, it kept performing its responsibilities to its clients. And so I took on the mantle of CEO. It's just accidental that in that particular year, my father got elected president of the Indian Merchants Chamber. That's what made me to take charge of the firm for that 1 year. After that, he himself sent me to Arthur Young and Company in Chicago, so that I could learn and come back and then establish all the other divisions in our firm.
So we have seen Shailesh Haribhakti Associates growing like anything. I mean, it's now above 1,000 plus people now with international practice and all. How did that happen? Like, there might be various challenges in managing the people and all. Today at Samandar, I myself face that many of the people keep coming and going. So how did you manage the staff there at that time, that there was a small staff and then you scaled up to that extent? What was that different things which you did in order to motivate the staff and in order to manage? Because we know Shailesh has a very knowledgeable part, but managing part is something where a lot of them tell that chartered accountants lack, right? They tell that CAs don't have that kind of managerial skills what we need. What is your opinion, Shailesh sir? Because that is something all the students want to know.
Something that you need to learn from day one. It is equally important to manage and administer a practice as it is to be a great professional and keep learning. For me, the three most important mantras were trust your people, delegate, keep learning, keep innovating, keep all the windows to the world open at all times, and keep sharing. Those were my key mantras. There was no rocket science. As a team member, there was no hierarchy. In our firm, we never have a superior and inferior position for anybody, right from the driver and the peon, right up to the managing partner. Everybody is respected equally. Everybody is part of the family. And as a part of the family, everybody has that same respect and same love from everybody else. That is, to my mind, the most important lesson that we all have to learn and practice. You need to be kind, you need to be trusting, you need to delegate, you need to be able to motivate people, not because you are doing something, but because people in your presence and with you want to do it themselves. You can never force anybody to do anything ever. If it does not come from within that person, it will never happen. So all that you need to do is to kindle that desire in. That is the only way that you will be able to bring organizations together. And I think that's a lesson that all of us must start practicing from day one. Keep learning, keep inspiring, keep trusting, keep delegating, work in teams, learn to make everybody achieve their potential. It's not as if there's any race between you and anybody else. The driver has to have the longest record of safety. Never touched any other car. That's an equally important KRA to keep people who are riding in the car safe. Otherwise, you won't be able to do auditing anyway. If I had an accident and I had lost use of my hand, it would have been a disaster, right? Or if the tune does not give you a most important urgent notice, which is coming from some regulatory authority, and it does not receive your attention on time, the consequences can be unbelievably difficult. And therefore, you need to recognize that every part of the work is important. Everything that everybody service to the client. And most importantly, also, you need to be continuously in touch with your clients to make sure that you know and understand what their needs are, and that you can then rise up to the occasion and make sure that you can fulfill those requirements.
I think that's a terrific piece of advice, because a lot of the young chartered accountants, they're not able to manage the firms. They start off the practice. Even the CPAs now are trying to start up. So now many of them, they want to go global and bring some of the clients. So how did you do the international practice? Because as we know, even Shailesh Haribhakti Associates have an international practice as a setup also with so many offices. What is that? How did you network with the international clients? Because that is something everyone wants to understand.
One thing you must understand that I have now given up the traditional practice of accounting. That is now with my dear friend Dilip Desai, who is running Haribhakti and Company. What I have is a very specialist practice which deals only with very esoteric elements of a few aspects which surround the work that I have done all my life. So Shailesh Haribhakti Associates is not the internationally affiliated firm. That is Haribhakti and Company, which is the firm that I spent all my life developing. I retired from there in March of 19. So all credit for everything that you are saying goes to Haribhakti and Company in many ways. But the way to develop international clients is exactly that attitude of wanting to grow together, of not wanting the whole of any pie, of wanting to share, of being in a position that you can give up more than what you want to retain and keep. That is critical. If you don't have that attitude, you can simply not grow any business. The critical aspect is that desire to share, that desire to ultimately make a difference to clients and to the world.
I think that's a very, very useful piece of advice for all the young people who are watching today. I think the attitude is very important. But, sir, is there any practical example? Like if I'm starting my own firm, how do I network with people? How do I get those clients? Any practical example? Like, for an example, I go to so and so and get those clients. Is there any art in doing that? Talking to people, or is just the communication skills that are just enough?
That
Art to it.
no. That question is not right. You never get a client. A client selects you. That is the difference. In a professional practice, it is not like going and marketing and telling people, please buy my professional service. I never, that's never the situation. It's you position yourself. You you speak at conferences, you speak in forums, you interact with people, you network with them, and you find every occasion to network with people. And it's because people speak about you. It's by word of mouth that your reputation builds. Then, when you get an opportunity, when somebody finds you and asks you to do something. So, for example, my very first client was an extremely small MSME called Tim Tom Food Products. It was a very popular little brand at that time. It used to make jams and pickles and squashes and Thandai. Thandai was its biggest product. They just thought that it was useful to entrust somebody who had a little bit of international experience with the task of setting up some systems and processes and making sure that things went right. So I got a good breakthrough and I grabbed it with both hands. And I spent every minute of day and night to think about how to make that particular assignment successful. And then it grew by word of mouth. The lady who owned Tim Tom spoke to her friends. And so things happened. The next assignment came because somebody who had heard of my work over there found me. I didn't have to go and tell people that please take my. It's not the marketing in the traditional sense. What you have to do is to position yourself as a competent, honest, reliable, trustworthy professional. That is critical. That's the difference between a professional and a business person. Nothing wrong with either, but it's important that the professional remains form, learning, delivering.
So I think once again, this is one of the powerful advice to all the young chartered accountants or the CPAs who are watching, who want to set up something on their own or their own firms. I think this is a very, very important thing which we have got today as a learning to position yourself. The brand positioning strategy doesn't come by digital marketing, it comes by your own quality, it comes by your own efforts. So, what a terrific thought process was that, and that's a practical explanation to the networking what people are looking for today, because people don't know how to network, how to talk to clients, or it's like how do they get in touch with them. And this is like not even talking to them and they're coming to us. That's how you position yourself. So by talking in the conferences, in the forums, by writing your blogs, your articles, make the people impressed with your work, and that's where they select you. It is not you select them. What a powerful thought or process, sir. Early morning at 11:20. That is, I think that's the best part among all of them, because there are so many people who want to become an entrepreneurs, but they don't know really how to kind of set up those firms, how to network with the people. Even for the people who are looking for job, I think that's a very, very important piece of advice, like how you get noticed among the recruiters. I think that's a very, very important point.
All the points you make are absolutely important. So when I wrote my first article, which appeared in the center page of Economic Times, I got noticed. When I wrote an article which won the prize for the best article in the Chartered Accountant magazine, it got noticed. So all that counts. But then you need to be very hardworking. One of the biggest lessons that professionals must really take to heart is you have to work 24 hours a day. It is not as if you can work for 8, 10 hours and get away. You have to be thinking and drawing upon your own reserves and what experiences and what kind of interfaces you had during the day, and keep working on it. And that's many times the inspirations come at most unusual times when you're asleep. Last night I woke up and there were a few thoughts in my mind. I had to put it down on and send it out on S. So 2 a.m. I wrote it out because that was the time when it was fresh. So it's very important to be extremely hardworking all your life. Hard work never killed anybody.
That's, I think 17, 18 hours. Today's professionals are very, very fast. I think that's the next follow-up question which I have with sir. Now, sir, about ICI developments, what is your thought process? Do you think the chartered accountancy exam should be made objective based and they should be reduced in their content of their testing and all, and it should be more practical? What are your thoughts? Because now one school of thought comes up from you just a minute before that you need to work really hard, 17, 18 hours per day, and you're telling almost 24 hours. And that is something today's professionals or today's youth are, I would say, are not so ready for, because that is something, the energy which they are lacking. Now with the professions, with the world shrinking and all, do you think the time have come for ICI also to kind of change their content or to reduce it to more to an objective based? Or do you think right now the content is really good and technology doesn't have much place in our curriculum?
Very good question. I will answer your question. Um, we have an extremely good democratic process to build the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. It's a process that I have respected all my life and I continue to respect it. We have a central council, we have a regional council, we have members engaged in growing and dealing with every aspect of the profession, whether it is examination, syllabus, the way we should choose technology, the way we should empower and encourage and educate our students. All of this is done in many ways uh, as a as some kind of a collaborative, intense effort between members of the profession, members of the public, members of government. It's a very wonderful system that has been put in place. And therefore, I would leave syllabus and whether courses should be changed and all of that to the wisdom of the committee, which is empowered and asked to do that job. And whenever they ask you, you will always give your opinion. What are the key things that need to be established? For example, way back in, when was it? In the year 1984 or 80, maybe 84, we started what is called the communication workshop. And I actually taught the communication workshop at WIRC for 2 years, where it was felt at that time that as part of the finishing training of a chartered accountant, it is important that the chartered accountants get an exposure to be very good in communication. So we had sessions which had only communication as their remit, nothing else. How do you start a debate? How do you draw people into a situation where you can then influence the course of events? How do you work with people? How do you take an idea, build on it? All of this was demonstrated and exchanged like us who had a few years in the practice and youngsters who were just joining, who were just qualified. So just post the qualification, we had this Academy of Accounting, it was called. That was a wonderful innovation. Until today, I remember, in fact, it's unbelievable that 40 years after a session there, somebody remembered that we had interacted over there. And it was so pleasant to exchange those wonderful memories of the times we had spent in that particular communication workshop. Now, that's the other thing that the profession affords you. It affords you all of these opportunities to actually go out and teach and interact with students. To my mind, that's another very important aspect and phase that all professionals should go through. You should continually give back. And the best way to give back is to teach and to interact and to do things which will be of value, long-term value to your professional colleagues. And the friendships you make in these forums are everlasting. I can tell you that with full confidence.
That's a very, very important information. CA students who always keep criticizing what institute have done for you. I think this is an answer from one of the legendary chartered accountants, what we have today. There's always pros and cons in every profession. Doesn't mean that we go around and crib about that. It's better we take up, we look at the positive aspects of the institute rather than looking at the negative aspects where we can improve. There are any suggestions, any things which you want to share to institute, there is a proper forum, there is a committee where you can share your thoughts. You can always follow up with that committee, and if you don't get, keep doing that. Definitely ideas are accepted, and that's what sir is also trying to talk about, rather than coming and criticizing it openly. I think there is always a process, because you can't change the system by sitting outside the system. You need to be in the system to make a change. And that's where, if you have a very good thought process, you should definitely join the panel or the committee and put forward your thoughts and processes, rather than just kind of openly talking what institute can do or what they can improve on. I think that's a very, very important piece of advice, sir, to all the CA students, to all the students who are pursuing chartered accountancy as their career. I think this question should solve much of your answers, because institute is always trying to progress. They are always having a good committee which likes making improvements, which likes making challenges in their own curricula. And it takes time, but there is a proper process to do for that particular thing. Sir, one very important question. What we have seen Shailesh, the entire profile of Shailesh Haribhakti, sir, with so many achievements. What were those challenges which you had to face? Any of the weaknesses or anything where you failed? I think the people who are watching this, they want to know the struggles of Shailesh Haribhakti, because the success have just surpassed those struggles, because they are not able to see the tremendous hard work which was beyond that, behind that. So we want to know what were the struggles, and that would be our last question of the episode. So what were the struggles which Shailesh
Well,
Haribhakti
the biggest struggle for me was balancing family and health and my zest for the profession. So, I was working at a completely furious pace at that time. I remember a few audits when we had to provide the opinion in the next 2 3 days. I had gone without sleeping for 2 nights continually. So there was a little bit of a price to be paid, and so my first reminder from the Almighty was when I had my uh, fortunately no heart attack, but a little bit of a clogging of the arteries, which required me to go through a bypass surgery. It was a voluntary bypass surgery, but it was a warning that you need to change and reorient and get yourself into a different pace and a different way of doing things. But what that taught me was that true friends remained with you, and even more completely. It taught me that I should take interest in many other things in life than just the one thing that I was pursuing. So I got interested in ESG, for example, which you read out in the beginning. The amount of work and study and reading that I do in that subject is pretty unusual for somebody who's not going to use it tomorrow morning. But now I'm beginning to see that whatever you learn and whatever you imbibe can come to your benefit in boardrooms, for example. ESG is a very, very big item of discussion. But if I had started yesterday, it would not be possible for me to go tomorrow and make some contribution in the boardroom. You have to start early. It also gave me a passion for reading. It gave me a passion for taking retreats and making sure that I took a vacation far more than what I used to take. I would have gone maybe 5, 7, 10 years without a vacation. And then that halt came and that signal came. And so you reorient your life and you take more breaks and you sort of keep re-evaluating. So that's one thing that one has to be careful about, to remain healthy and to remain. And so, again, from that time onwards, meditation and yoga and regular exercise and self-hygiene, all of that became very important parts of one's life. Walking daily, all of that, very critical. So that's one big setback and one big lesson which one faced, at least I faced, and learned from it, corrected the course, and came out in a different manner from that.
How do you manage being a board of director of so many companies, Ambuja, ACC? I mean, there are so many companies in a day. How do you manage so many things in that particular day? What time you wake up? I know that in our last webinar when we had, where you were talking on data streaming, you said that you wake up at early morning 4 o'clock. In spite of morning 4 o'clock also, uh, I mean, yes, we wake up early morning 4 o'clock also, but there are so many companies you are chairman of. So how do you get time to manage all those things in one day? And even independent
In many
directors.
ways, yeah, in many ways, this happens naturally. As you grow, you begin to learn to distill things and make sure that you focus only on the essential. I don't go into long discussions on trivial matters. You'll never find me having long discussions and pushing a point beyond its value. If it seems like there is an impasse, I usually refer it to a third party and say, okay, let's get the best expert in the world to come and tell us what to do, and we'll follow that, and that works. So there are three things that I want of you, but you should not doggedly pursue it in a way that you expend your entire energy in just sticking to your own point of view. You've got to be intellectually very open and honest. If you want to do multiple things without that intellectual honesty and without that ability to say, I don't know something, please tell me, please guide me. Let us take another opinion. Be humble about it. There is no need to assume that you should and can know everything. Which you can remain humble. How you have to be vulnerable. In many cases, you are vulnerable, and you need to recognize that. That little sense of being vulnerable is also very critical, because that keeps you open. Then people start trusting you. There's a natural trust and openness that committees and listening to whistleblowers and listening to people who want to share confidences is a very, very different phase that you get into. But if you're not prepared for it through your reading and through your mental approach to accepting things in a more reasoned and fully considered manner, you would you would get agitated by it. But for me, I'm able to take it calmly, dissect it, distill it, look at it for what it is, take help where it is necessary, tell people that I don't know a few things, let's get some more expertise to bear upon it. That's how it happens. That's how you can manage multiple tasks. And in fact, because I have that variety of things to think about, it builds a huge amount of capability. Ultimately, that's the destination all of us must have, that we make a contribution in every hour that we spend, leave behind something that people will learn from, that people will want to interact with, will want to use themselves in order to fully exploit their own potential. To me, that is most important. When I see people working to their full capacity and building out their whole potential, I feel the happiest.
So Shailesh sir, I think one last add-up question which have come from the students itself. This is only from the student community, though it's not covered as part of our inspiring stories. Do you think that even if they don't have a CA qualification, if they have failed in that, do you think there is an alternative route through other international qualifications like CIA, CPA, CFA, or any
Oh,
sort?
of course, of course, of course. Never feel at all thwarted by not passing an exam. It is just, if it is not meant to be, it's not meant to be. Don't worry about it. Get on with life. There are so many things that you can do. You can get into data science, and you can get into costing, and you can get into internal auditing, and you can get into valuation. There are a million things a human being can productively do if you have a good basic mind, if you have a sponge of learning within you, and you are ready to absorb learning and connect the learnings. That's the attitude and that's the picture that you should present at all times. Don't worry about qualifications. As I said, qualifications is only a starting point. After that, what you do is dependent on your effort, your hard work, your ability to go deep into things, bring them together, connect them, have the right attitude, be humble, be hardworking, and things will work out. Not to worry about qualification at all.
I think this is one of the best advice to close today's discussion with, sir. Guys, very, very inspiring 40 minutes. And I didn't even see that there are 40 minutes have been surpassed. And I'm sure sir also was in that flow, so he might not also have noticed the time, but it has been one of those powerful 40 minutes of my life. I'm 110% sure that I have learned a lot. Just by interviewing him, I have learned so many things. I can just imagine people who are working with sir might have had so many things to learn. And there are, just to kind of summarize the entire story of Shailesh sir, it's a good example of being learning throughout your life. He is a kind of example for people who should take that as an inspiration to learn every hour you contribute to your learning. Keep studying daily. I think that's the way you can do your multitasking. You can handle multiple responsibilities. But yes, in order to do that, you need to definitely wake up early morning. I think if you wake up early morning, students, I know that I'm not pushing or forcing anyone, but see, there are a lot of examples now. And Shailesh sir, we did one early morning 4 o'clock crash course for CPA, and
Wow.
my faculties woke up early morning 4 to teach them. So there were around 85 students who contributed to that initiative. And today I invited all the big fours, everyone. We gave that invitation to all their employees to join that program, just to inculcate that habit of 4 o'clock. So I still live by that timing, guys. So I think that it's very important that you wake up early so that you can cover a lot of the things which you couldn't do in your life. And that's, I think, one of the biggest success of Shailesh sir, waking up that early morning and learning throughout that day. It's not just that you wake up and tell that you wake up and then you close down the phone and again sleep. That's not the objective. The objective is to wake up and contribute to the society and have that very, very good positive mindset about all the fraternity. Whoever you are associated with, whatever the professional bodies you are associated with, always respect your profession. Thank you so much, Shailesh sir. It has been an absolute honor and delight and a very joyful 45 minutes for me at Simandar Education. Thank you so much, sir. Pranam from here, and thank you so much, sir. Thanks a lot.
All the best.
Thank you.
All the best to you.